From the center of the galaxy, this is ForceCenter, show about Star Wars, pop culture, and the ultimate adventure, life itself, and waking up early. Well, maybe for East Coasters, West Coasters, I just kind of fell out of bed and saw this trailer. We're going to dive into the Mandalorian and Grogu official trailer. I'm Ken Napster.
I'm Joseph Scrimshaw. Very happy to be here. I knew the trailer was coming, and yet I did my normal thing when I wake up, which is to open Blue Sky, and the first thing I saw was a cute little Rhodian baby, and I thought, oh no, wait, stop. I must watch the trailer right away.
The hazards of our times, right? When you can't be there the moment something happens, you got to be prepared.
Put a content warning on the babies. Come on.
Yes. It's here. The official trailer's here. We're going to dive in. This is much anticipated, much questioned. We've had a lot of conversations around here. All of them, I think, are valid of, hey, when's this going to happen? Is it too late? Is it too early? Should it happen during an NFL championship game, which was dominated by a pop culture moment with Bad Bunny? Or a week later, is that better? And Joseph, all questions are kind of answered.
Yes. Well, I guess the questions are answered, and now we get to say what we feel about those answers. I will say, I think we are living through an interesting shift where this is the second time now. They started with Maul, where Lucasfilm gave a warning and had a teaser trailer for the full trailer. And I think that is a shift where an acknowledgement that these trailers are for the general population, but also they are boosted by, frankly, thousands and thousands and thousands of folks like us who are all-in Star Wars fans or who will change their schedule in order to record, talk about, discuss, pull apart the trailers. So it's interesting to be living in a different time. And frankly, this is a part of our lives, is a part of how we pay bills and eat food and all that stuff. It's very nice to be able to plan for it. So thank you to Lucasfilm. That's the first answer. Thank you for the warning, so we can put our backs into talking about this great trailer.
Indeed. I canceled my morning walk. All right. I sacrificed for all of you.
I was going to watch an episode of Twin Peaks, and then I had to really shift gears of like, why isn't this Hut speaking in slow-mo and backwards? Anyway, let's dive in. What was, Ken, your big picture reaction just on the most basic? Did the trailer do its job of getting you, an all-in Star Wars fan, excited for the film?
Yeah, I also love old school. I wrote notes down. It's been a while since I've written my thoughts. That's like an old school ForceCenter thing for me. You and Jen are a little better at it than me. And my overreaction was that this was the fun that we needed, but it also was the characters in focus because we need them to be in focus. And the rest will kind of shake itself out. I think we got some answers. We're going to dive into some of the plot revelations, all that stuff. But this is kind of what we were talking about on the news show of what they needed to kind of put front and center. What I do think the big game teaser spot and Budweiser parody spot did, which is highlight their relationship and what's at stake for them and what is between them and the connection between them. And that was front and center. And again, just fun. This wasn't to me, one of those classic Star Wars epic trailers where the music swells and it goes, this December, your life's going to change and your perspective is going to change. This was like, you want to put on your armor and go for a ride. And at the start of the summer, like you did in 83, I think had a lot of that energy.
Yeah, no, I really agree with you. I think that what excited me for this trailer is that it showed the extremes of Star Wars that I enjoy. I think we got used to the Force theme and the slow push in and the gravelly voice in the sequel era because it was, and even in Rogue One, because it was playing not just on the content of the films, but it was playing on our memories, our lived experiences with these characters and our knowledge of where in the timeline does this story happens and what does that mean for all of us. So I think a different approach is needed. But up to this trailer, I was excited for Mandalorian and Grogu, and I trusted that there would be character depth. But the teaser trailer was like, cool, it exploded. It focused to me almost solely on the adventure and the size of the spectacle, which I know they need to do. But what I really loved about this full trailer is it was a mix of everything I enjoy in Star Wars, going back to classic original trilogy. Very clearly pulpy adventure serial. We can already count what are the different number of action set pieces they're going to get into, and we can predict by what minute of the film will they get into this fight with this guy. But clearly, pulpy adventure serial with lots of different action. Then lots of deep mythic fantasy-based imagery, that kind of deep mythic, for lack of any other better word, but that stuff that's been around, images that have been around in our culture for so long that they have just huge weight. Almost an oil painting of a subterranean snake creature staring at Din, challenging his existence, looking into his soul as much as it's going to bite his head off. Mythic imagery. But more than anything, heartfelt, relatable family story was communicated. We'll dive deep into it, but a lot was communicated about fear, togetherness, protection, all of those heartfelt, relatable family stories that is the real underpinning of Star Wars. So I often talk about Star Wars being a contrast of lots of different things, and the contrast that is maybe the most important to me is the absurd and the profound. To take what was back in the day B movies and paperback covers that were kind of weren't respected because they were just sort of like big and loud and salacious, and that's the surface of this. It's the armored daddies and weirdo babies and wise frog lizards in the woods and snake monsters in the basement and like all this stuff that's like cheap bullshit. Is what the rest of the culture thought in the mid 20th century. Right. Let's take all that absurd imagery and let's ground it in the most profound human experiences that we all go through. Love, fear, loss, connection, the desire for connection, the line between revenge and justice, all of these like real things that we wrestle with. I think, people accuse Favreau of bashing action figures together. In this trailer, I think the action figures he's bashing together are the beautifully absurd and the beautifully profound.
Yeah, one of those ForceCenter side conversations we do always occasionally get into and need to of I take great offense to the he's just bashing their action figures together, he and Dave, because as you've said wonderfully and we've discussed, it's like, yeah, that's how we got here. That's literally why they caught on and changed the world in 77 or 78 if you got the early box set release there. Yeah, it's our story, our version, our adventures in our hands. It's inspired a generation to tell their own stories. So yeah, you're right. It's wonderfully full of all the action figures smashing together.
It's the action figures, but what are the action figures doing? And I'm sure other kids were like me and worked through lots of ideas. Well, I worked through what does death mean and what are affairs? Those are two of the things I worked out with playing with my Star Wars action figures. Anyway, this also has Embo, which I'm very excited about, and we will talk about. Indeed. So you and I have been hungry for what is the film truly about? We know who Din and Grogu are. We know where they've been, but we want to know what is the stakes for this film. So I thought there were some pretty direct theme statements from characters in the actual dialogue of the trailer. But after seeing this trailer, what do you feel this film is about on the character level, on the thematic level?
The big bucket I'll keep reaching into is this generational exchange, right? It's pretty direct we know Din and Grogu's connection, and I think everyone is reacting to the line of, he's going to live centuries beyond me. I actually wrote it down so I could get it 100% right. The kid will live centuries beyond me. I will always be around to protect him. So we have, hey, we're going to teach him the ways of the Mandalorian. He also has some Jedi skills. Johnny Fab said this, and we talked about it on the news show earlier this week. But that hit me on this level. And tell me if I've gone too far, Joseph. Tell me if I've force-centered myself. Watching this trailer, watching a new generation of Star Wars films come along, and this is familiar characters. In fact, two of the biggest breakout characters in the last 10 years, 12 years, in familiar territories and in a familiar time period. This isn't the new Star Wars in another part of galaxy with completely new characters. That I know. But we're starting this new era of Star Wars films. And to have one of the themes be, this will live beyond me, This
Mm-hmm.
will live beyond me, and I won't always be around to protect him. And what does that mean to me as a father in this case in the show? What does it mean to me as a fan, as an older fan? What do you want of the franchise going forward? What do you want this fandom to be? It really struck me on that level.
Mm-hmm.
It really struck me on this. This is the dawn of a new era, and for a lot of us, how are we going to react to something that is not growing beyond us, or growing more than moving beyond us? You know, how will that feel? This is all through that trailer.
Yeah, I think so. I think, yeah, Star Wars has always, from the very beginning of, Obi-Wan passing on his wisdom to Luke and then immediately dying, been a generational story. Even Luke's desire to make a story that helps younger generations figure out morality for themselves. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I really think this is a generational story, but the mood that I was left with is this idea of both of them are kind of have to grow up and let go of one another eventually,
Mm-hmm.
and they're both sort of dealing with the anxiety of that moment. They're both being asked in this trailer to let go of their fear. Din is afraid of not being there for Grogu. What if I'm not there to protect him? What if I haven't taught him everything he needs to know by the time I'm gone? We see Grogu separated from Din and know that Din is in danger, and Grogu directly being asked, "Are you afraid?" And he's like, "Huh?" Yes. So we know that Grogu is afraid of being alone again, being without his dad. They are both expressing this fear of being without the other, and this
Mm-hmm.
kind of straightforward, can they push past the fear? But I think I love that you put it in the context of Star Wars itself being generational. But maybe this is my middle age staring out the window, reflecting on life, coming in at me. But it feels in a way like Mando and Grogu, they love each other and they have this beautiful time together where they are a team. They are father and son. Their relationship is defined. How much can they just let themselves enjoy that present without being tortured by the knowledge of this moment's inevitable end?
Mm-hmm.
I felt
Mm-hmm.
like the way Star Wars can kind of deeply mythically touch you. Have you ever been like at a party with friends and it's so great, and in the middle of the party you just kind of, around the corner that that friend's going to get married, that friend's got a new job, this event that held you all together is actually not going to be happening every year anymore, and just
Mm-hmm.
around the corner, you will always love these people, but this moment, the way it is, right around the corner, is going to end. And you feel it, and it pulls you away from enjoying the moment that will inevitably end. And are you just going to sit there in your anxiety and fear? Are you going to try to control it and stop it? Are you going to make everybody, pinky promise, like, no matter what, we're going to do this. We're going to hang out every month exactly like this. I felt those deep real world experiences in
Mm-hmm.
there. Not just the film's going to have the real tactile. Will they be physically safe? Will they, get back on their
Mm-hmm.
feet? But it had that real deep.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a parent, so I haven't experienced from that parental perspective. But man, have I heard about it? Of like, oh my god, my kid's like 6, 7, and we have this very specific groove, and it's going to be gone. And can I treasure it enough? That was the emotion that really got me in this trailer.
You're describing the exact moment in the party that I Irish goodbye, so I don't have to face the emotions. But life conversation, yeah, absolutely. I've had those moments where I'm hyper aware of it, and moments where I was like, I should have been aware of this ending of a chapter or what was going to become. Yeah, no, wonderful. This is why, I absolutely feel that, and in conjunction with Favreau's, this is a culmination kind of thing, and us talking about on the news show earlier this week of, will this be his final Star Wars project, at least for now? Blah blah blah, all that stuff. So there's some energy too that both these characters moving forward. You know, I still think we're going to get Grogu's first official word at some point, and this would be the spot. And so I'm with you on that. That's a good sentiment.
Yeah, and I don't need to see a lot. I don't personally want to see any more of the film. But if they do any more,
Yeah.
if they do like, oh, here's a 15-second reel on Instagram and do 8 of those as we get closer, which they
Hmm.
often do. Again,
Right.
I don't want that, but they're probably going to do that. If they do,
Right.
I hope they concentrate on those little moments between Din and Grogu, because for everything
Mm.
else that was great about the Mandalorian television show, that the Grogu's little hand reaching up in Din, this vicious, unknowable bounty hunter in the first episode, reaching back,
Mm.
that's what sold the show, and that's what's going to sell this movie.
That's an absolute amazing and correct point of that is the image that I think changed all of our relationships with what that show was going to be. Whether you thought the reveal or knew the reveal or were completely gobsmacked, yeah, that was the emotion there that's driven this whole thing to this moment. You're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just wanted to throw out there, in appreciation for the trailer, because I think trailers can do different things. I felt like
Mhm.
this one, it certainly did reveal a lot more. And we're going to
Yeah.
talk story structure, but I thought it was a well constructed trailer to almost be in itself a little 3-act structure, and I think the
Hmm.
trailer kind of mirrored what I think the movie will do. It had a little act one that offered us the stasis. What's the situation as we know it? And it's Mando and Grogu know what is good. It is
Hmm.
beating up bad guys.
Right.
This is the way. We get a little reminder of their certainty. Gangsters, war criminals will take out every bad guy in your deck of cards. Almost Din
Hmm.
going like, please, Galaxy, just make it simple. I want to show
Right.
my son how to be good. There are bad guys. You go beat them up. It would be really great if I didn't have to think about it beyond that, if the world didn't get more complicated. Then in the
Yep.
trailer comes Act 2, Conflict and Complications, where Sigourney Weaver's Colonel Ward comes in and says, this isn't about revenge, it's
Mm.
preventing another war. So there's the first sort of ding against the stasis, where like, it's complex
Hmm.
morality to teach your child. And then we
Yeah.
get into the more concrete conflict of the second act. Constant images and language about danger, harm, protection, exposure. We get
Hmm.
one of the Huts saying, as Din's helmet is removed, you will suffer, and then it will be his turn. Din saying to Grogu, before going into harm's way, check your armor, which is good practical
Hmm.
information, but also fear. Uh,
Hmm.
my little child is exposed, and I'm taking him into this arena of adulthood and exposing him. And then Din is saying to someone we don't see, as you said, the kid will live centuries beyond me. I won't always be around to protect him. Again, anxiety, fear. A lizard guy in the woods says to Grogu,
Hmm.
are you scared? You should be. So we can get distracted by there's Embo and there's the Hut and which Hut is that and when's he going to fight
Yep.
this and why? But what's going on, even subliminally, if you don't take the time to break it down, is the middle of this 2-minute and 12-second trailer is just nothing but anxiety, fear, conflict, what will happen to the other. And then I feel like the trailer does want to come around to, but remember, this will be a fun time at the movies in the summer. And it has its
Hmm.
own little act 3 where in the trailer continuity, not in the continuity of the film, after all this anxiety for Din and Grogu, they're reunited. And we have Din saying to Grogu, do we run or do we fight? And we have
Yep.
a cute, fun moment of Grogu getting in the little pram and taking off, and Din saying, what are we waiting for? And the trailer ends with them literally blasting into adventure.
Hmm.
I think that the 3-act structure of this trailer is a hint to the 3-act structure of this film. Stasis, where Din and Grogu want to be together. They want to hunt bad guys. They want to keep it simple. All sorts of things remind them of their frailty, their possibility of losing one another. And ultimately, they make the choice of, do we give in to that fear or do we face that fear? Do we run or do we fight? What are we waiting for? Let's go, kid.
Mm. You're describing what will be an amazing summer for a 12-year-old who sees this film,
Right?
and high school's around the corner, growing up is around the corner, separating a bit for your parents or older mentors is around the corner. You're literally describing, I think, why this is going to be a film that we'll talk about box office side of it if we want to, but like a film that will connect. You're absolutely speaking to the child in all of us, and it's something we still go through. Hell, I'm about to enter my summer of being 12 again. Like
Mhm.
it's repeatable. So yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, some of the spectacle of Mandalorian and Grogu and some of the spectacle of all big movies, it's sort of like we have a lot of access to spectacle with,
Hmm. Hmm.
advances in CGI and so much film becoming cinematic. So it really does become like, what is going to make the difference is how much does a kid who is 12 feel this movie, the adventure,
Mm.
and their own life anxieties that you're pointing out, how much do they
Mm.
feel it in this film, I think is going to make the difference of whether or not it really takes off.
Yeah, no, yeah, and I think it will. I think going back to what you said about them, this being maybe the end of a chapter, not just in terms of the Star Wars franchise or these, but like these characters and their journey. And next time out, Grogu's got to have a little mustache and driving his first car. That's where we're at in his life, I think.
Yeah,
all jokes aside, it's him growing up,
sneaking out in the N1 Starfighter to go necking. Yeah. Let's talk style. Star Wars, of course, always has been made up of many different influences. I think, Favreau is a film buff, and I think very, very knowledgeable on all of the various styles of storytelling that Star Wars was influenced by, and talks about that often. Obviously, there's the Western influence in Mandalorian. There's adventure serial, romance, war movie, political thriller, just kind of straight up swords and sorcery fantasy. What did you feel the most in the trailer? What kind of movie is this? Like, what if Star Wars is like this big stew of different ingredients? Which ingredients did you feel most prominently?
This is going to be a road picture to me, and a high adventure. I mean, you're talking about the thing at the end, with the pram and a cute baby Rodian, but that is, like you said, it is like here as you've laid it out thematically. Here's where we're going on, but let's get to it. Let's go. Let's strap into your pram, everybody, and go for a ride. I really felt that everything about that. The adventure serial and the Star Wars fantasy. You talking about the absurd, just. What a great day for alien species in Star Wars stories. But it just, I think this even has to do with the graphics, the logo, the very stylized adventure serial logo. I think this is going to be something that has a little bit of a breakneck speed to it. We're going to clearly have our moments. We saw Grogu maybe on Yothan, right? Our fake planet we've made up for baby Yodas. From back in the day, but yeah, I think this is a pick up and go. Absolutely, running through things.
Yeah, I mean, I think the adventure serial is definitely there in terms of the structure and the pacing. And I do think Star Wars ebbs and flows. I think Last Jedi had the dial turned way down on adventure serial so that it had more time for the mythic. And then Rise of Skywalker turned the adventure serial dial way up. And some people, it was like, that was too high. And why is this movie moving so fast? I think Solo was like the perfect adventure serial balance, where it really was like I think the adventure serial works so well when the characters' anxieties are tied to the problems of like, okay, I think I just solved this problem. Whoops, here's another one. And that's what I'm definitely seeing in this, is that adventure serial, in terms of like the structure. There's lots of also kind of classic, Western and gangster motif with the huts, that the shot of the snowtrooper takedown, the badass, I shot him in the leg, now I shoot him in the chest kind of thing.
Yes.
There's a little bit of the sort of the Roman gladiator with, I think, Mando thrown into an arena, and probably some real moral questions of who is being made to fight and why, and how do all the people feel about that. But I think the thing that I was really excited by is how much of all the ingredients they threw a lot of capital F fantasy into Mando. And they certainly have before, and they leaned into it in season 3 with the mythosaur,
Right.
and all the meaning there. But just the imagery of like Grogu with the wizard stick. That Grogu looks like he's at a convention cosplaying Gandalf.
Right.
That's like so capital F fantasy.
Right.
I assume wise lizard in the forest, whatever whatever planet Grogu is on, is he going there to do some sort of a soul quest to look inside himself and find his strength, find Din, whatever. But the wise lizard has some real, like, you found a weirdo in the woods who doesn't seem like he should be knowledgeable, but he is. Super mythic thing. That image of that snake beast in the water with an unmasked Din, that's just like that's like, you could see that carved on a cave wall. It's so old school fantasy face
Mm.
the beast, face yourself imagery. I was really excited by the fantasy levels of this trailer.
Yeah. Again, when I say, a big day for the alien species, it's not a shot against Andor, but, and Ahsoka had that too as well. But it's such a key element in the original blueprint of Star Wars. So good to see it on full display.
Mm-hmm. So we always want to speculate responsibly, and what we mean by speculate responsibly is have fun speculating, but don't get so attached to your predictions that you are angry at the film for being what it is, as opposed to what you imagined it to be. So speculating responsibly, what ideas did the trailer give you about story structure, whether you wanted those thoughts or not?
Yeah. I shout out to our buddy Brian Ward, who went from like this. They haven't given us. He posted this morning. What do you say? They haven't given us enough information, but now I'm concerned with this and the Lego leaks. I know everything, and thus is the life of a Star Wars fan. And Brian was accurate on that. I love that we have a big stake. The big stake being preventing war, and that's not galaxy at stake type of level, but it's like a reality of what's going on. I love. And as this is not about revenge. This is about preventing war. And Grogu is destroying a snow version of a mouse droid, which is spectacular. In terms of speculating responsibly, it's funny coming into this. Rada the Hutt was kind of the focus, and Jeremy Allen White is Rada, and maybe he was kidnapped, and maybe that's something that is still at play. But the center of the story is the separation of these two characters, and what seems to be Grogu going on his own adventure, and coming through, and Din searching for him, driving a lot of the theme that we talked about. But in terms of speculating responsibly, I really think a big bad hasn't been revealed. I don't even know that. I don't mean that in terms of they're hiding something back. This isn't you and I going, they haven't even released third act Force Awakens Luke figures yet. This is just wondering to me still. I think it's the big thing that's missing is what would drive that separation? What caused that separation? Just simply mishap on adventure? Embo, someone behind it? And how much of it is the Hutts? We know we not only seen the twins, we are possibly going to now Hutta. That's the snake is from the Clone Wars, I believe, and Alex Damon's been squealing about that snake all morning. So as he should. But what side of the Hutts on? We know these Imperial remnants are the bad side, but I don't get the sense that they're as much as a huge factor as these potential warlords. So that's kind of where I'm in this mishmash of speculating responsibly with all the questions swirling around.
I knew that snake looked familiar, but I should have figured Obi-Wan and Quinlan murdering one.
That's it.
And,
that's the one.
Then I would have put it together. Man, that's so great. Yeah, I mean, I feel like in terms of sort of putting things together, was like, okay, well, now we know kind of there's a lot of pieces of this conflict on a snow planet with Imperial remnants that you can put together from the AT-AT from the opening of Mando walking through the door and Grogu, exploding a snow mouse droid. Like, so you can put all these kind of pieces together. Like, oh, you know a lot about that set piece. I feel like that set piece is early on in the film. I think it's part of the sort of stasis of this is what we want to be doing. They're clearly on a city planet of some kind, searching for a hut for some reason. And we see lots of those little set pieces put together with that sort of bruiser character that they're fighting at the end of the trailer. That all feels like early on stuff for me. And then something happens where I think Din is captured and Grogu is forced to be alone. And we have a little bit of an Empire Strikes Back, pull them apart so they can feel the fear of being without one another, unable to protect one another, but then also face to sort of grow and confront themselves so they can come back together. And I definitely think like some of the quick flashes might be from third act, but I'm actually pleasantly surprised to feel like I think story structure wise, this trailer told me and showed me a ton of images, ideas from Act 1 kind of the inciting incident of Act 2. If they get captured, pulled apart, Grogu has to go on some sort of spirit quest, and then eventually teams up with some Anzellans. Din is captured and forced to fight in an arena. But how do they come back together? What is the big bad that they face? Is it the twins? Is it something behind the twins? How do they come back together? Some of that third act seems delightfully unknown, and I'm really, really happy for that.
Yeah. Who's behind it all? And glad to get the confirmation on Embo. I think that was a sure thing for most of us. But get your Embo thoughts here in a second. I'll concede the floor to your years of Embo love. Finally, having some time here. Who or what's behind it is the fun thing to me that they've held back.
Yeah,
which is great.
And I think that line so early on from Colonel Ward about it's not revenge, it's about preventing another war. I don't necessarily take that as stakes of like there's some, I don't think they're going to end up at like, space Star Wars UN and prevent an assassination. So another war doesn't.
Yeah, or Thrawn, like none of that. Like I don't think.
Yeah, I don't feel like the literal like, ooh, let's stop this fiery incident from happening. Maybe that's what the twins are up to. Maybe they want another war so they can profit. So they're trying to ignite it. Now I'm talking myself into it, but I feel like that. I feel like that line is more about Din wants to keep Grogu safe, but he also wants to teach him how to be a good person, to be a good and honorable Mandalorian. And I think Din has followed very strict codes of what it means to be honorable. But I think when we meet him, he's also been asked to sort of either bend them or the code that he's been asked to follow is a very brutal might makes right code. In fact, it is a lot of like, you got a conflict, but then fight in front of me, says the armor,
Right.
And he has grown, he has changed, he has seen the value of not handling everything by hitting it, punching it, killing it. So I feel like that line is more there to be like, action is necessary, violence is necessary, but the why of the violence, you got to teach this kid so he knows the difference between, rescuing you and killing the person who took you. I wouldn't be surprised to see that, a classic Star Wars scenario play out of like, the Colonel Ward's line is another permutation of Rose's line in The Last Jedi. We're not fighting what we hate, we're saving what we love. So I feel like maybe that's a plot hint, but it feels more like a morality challenge for what is Din going to pass on to Grogu.
A thematic directive, but I think you're absolutely right. Obviously, the why is tremendously valuable to all of this. That's why we're here to discuss that years after years. It's fun to analyze the why, and I think that's kind of still not what's missing from the trailer, but in terms of what it's held back of the lesson, the big lesson at the end. I could see that. You want a hostage situation? Where Din's got his blaster, gonna save Grogu or take out Embo? Yeah, might be, but maybe not. Seriously, but that connects to the galaxy stakes. That connects to if there are warlords and Imperial remnants and they're rising, and what is the goal, right? What is the goal of your interaction? Is it to prevent war, as she said? Is it to de-escalate? Like, what are we actually here for? Like, it's a big question.
Yeah, and I think it does just kind of relate directly to, hey, you got to teach your kids things. Boy, it would be easier to be able to teach and believe ourselves. Anybody wearing this costume is bad, and you should kill them. And that's the whole mission of life.
There it is.
Locate the bad guys and kill them. Boy, would that be an easier life for all of us than the complexity of what we're actually navigating. And I feel like there's some great hints at that. All right. So one other big thing, a couple of other big things to talk about, but I think we should talk about Pedro Pascal is helmet off in The Mandalorian and Grogu. What are your thoughts about that from a character perspective and from a marketing perspective?
I think the important thing for me is the marketing perspective of just getting in front of that, doing that for all of our benefits. Whether the amount of time he's in it, that if you want to go into the weeds on that conversation, great. But they're saying, don't worry, one of the most known stars in the world right now. From the Super Bowl halftime cameo to movies, shows, and this. Yes, he is not just the voice. We obviously have some great work from Brendan Wayne and Lateef Crowder and others, but he is there. I think that was needed, smart. Puts to bed a lot of that needless speculation, fun speculation, but needless speculation from a character's perspective. It's interesting to pick up from where season 3 ended. I just rewatched yesterday, based on some of our conversations on our episodes. I put in season 3, episode 4, The Foundling, which is the Kellen and Beck episode, and just was spending some time with that campfire scene where Bo-Katan is like, you guys, you don't take your helmets off. What's happening here? And just kind of the helmet conversation kind of colliding there. And then we got this here today. It's like, where is he with that? How exposed does he feel? Is this a good thing to maybe not shake him loose of his beliefs, but to like, all right, he's uncomfortable too. He's obviously more comfortable with the mask on. We see that in season 2 with that great conversation with Bill Burr's character, where Pedro's doing the great acting of like, I'm still turning. Din is obviously challenged by this, and the fact that it's ripped off in this trailer is really interesting to me. Of how long can he function? What can he do with the mask off?
Yeah, I love that. We'll get the marketing out of the way so we can talk about the juicier character perspective. Yeah, I'm really glad marketing wise to just have it confirmed that yes, Pedro Pascal will have some FaceTime. The way this is constructed makes it seem like maybe a decent amount. I also feel like I love Pedro Pascal, and I fully think he is doing an incredibly wise thing for himself. He got these opportunities. He blew up between Mando and Wonder Woman 84 was pretty derided, but he was really celebrated. And I think from there, he took the opportunities, he ran with it and did a phenomenal job. I only watched the first season of Last of Us, but did a phenomenal job and popping up everywhere. Going to be in Tony Gilroy's film follow-up to Andor is going to be starring Pedro Pascal. So I do understand that for some people, they feel like, you can't turn a corner without seeing Pedro Pascal. So how valuable is he as a marketing thing? I think for me, what's valuable about it is this trailer is confirming there's Pedro Pascal FaceTime, which makes it more comfortable to have Pedro Pascal do a publicity blitz on like Good Morning America. Because like, if there was a question of like, are you in the movie? It would be weird if he was doing press rounds. And I think him doing press rounds actually would help the film a lot.
Absolutely will.
So we'll see about that. Pedro Pascal and Jon Favreau cook something together on Good Morning America, please.
Absolutely.
Brendan Wayne and Lateef Crowder should be there too, I think.
Yes.
In terms of what it means for the character, I was kind of surprised by it. To just see a scene with him with the helmet off, I would have been like, okay, sure, yeah. But to see that moment of it being removed with him captured on his knees, I would be interested to see the character go through an evolution, because by the end of season 3, he is firmly, I choose to believe the ways of the Children of the Watch. We are helmet on people. But in order for the Mandalorian people to survive, even the armor accepted, we have to have a broader tent. And these Mandalorians who have a different culture and they take their helmets off, they're Mandalorians too, and we're all going to be cool about it. So it felt like a kind of a Mandalorian melting pot moment where we can all live together, helmet on or helmet off. But Din was still like but I'm a helmet on guy. That's my personal belief. It's not being forced on me by anybody. But now that he lives in a wider Mandalorian culture where you can, is he open to that? Does he want that? Is there going to be the evolution of him reconsidering what it means to him? Because if not, then him being defeated in combat, captured, and having the helmet ripped off should be a moment of massive trauma. As far as we know, unless I'm forgetting something in Mandalorian, he chooses to take it off every time. And fights to not let anybody else take it off. So having a film where he's separated from Grogu and he's had his helmet taken off is a massive violation that I really am curious to see like how deep will they go with him
Mm-hmm.
questioning, have I failed? I've
Yeah.
let somebody else take my mask off,
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'd like some long drawn out sequences with his face front and center as he's trying to navigate who he is in that space and maybe going forward. Not that he'd take the mask off permanently, but you know what I mean. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's a big challenge
Mm-hmm.
for him.
Mm-hmm.
That's fun. That's
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about some other characters who pop up, and I want to know who you are excited about in this list. We have Embo confirmation. That shot early in the trailer, I think looks and sounds like R2. Maybe not R2D2, but
Uh, yeah. The lighting's weird, right? But
the lighting's weird. Yeah,
yeah, but it's I'm hoping.
it's got some R2 vibes, so we'll put R2
Yeah,
as a possibility.
yeah.
We got the twins from Book of Boba Fett. More quality time with Zeb. More quality time, I guess. An additional shot of what we believe to be Rada the Hutt, who's really been doing some push-ups. And then, of course, a Rodian baby taking the internet by storm. Then lots of other new characters that, whoever the weird lizard is, the Anzellans or that, but focusing on some of the new ones from this trailer. So where do you go with your excitement?
I mean, we got to go first to a member of the Durant family showing up, and I only have my Chihuahua as a witness, but I was one of the first to be like, oh, Martin Scorsese's in Star Wars. That's amazing. And so it is coming out now, Fast and Furious, but we got a member of the Durant family, and
Martin Scorsese?
It's Martin Scorsese. Yeah. And I think that's absolutely amazing. Like I cannot believe. I'd love to go back to 1977 and tell Marty, hey Marty, you're gonna be in George's little space pictures. Oh, okay. No, I'll be in that. I think it's great.
Long as I can remember, I wanted to be a weird alien with 4 arms.
And just that with John behind it, and having any kind of however they would come to that decision to put a member of the Durant family in there, it makes me love Solo even more and Rio Durant even more. So, anyways, that was the big one for me. The confirmation of Embo, even the confirmation of the twins, not a surprise. I love the twins. They're one of my favorite parts of Book of Boba Fett. I love their arrival and Black Crescent and all that stuff. It's a great sequence. Happy to see them in this.
Yeah, that's great, and I think there's a possibility that they are the big bad that needs to be defeated. We'll see. The Embo for people just catching up. Pretty prominent bounty hunter in the Clone Wars television show. And just always one of those designs that spoke to me. The whole prequel era expanded the palette of what Star Wars can look like. And some of the bounty hunters in the Clone Wars I liked because they followed a little bit more of the prequel, let's expand the palette aesthetic. Embo feels like he's from a cut scene in Empire Strikes Back. It feels like if the camera moved over a little bit in the bounty hunter scene in Empire Strikes Back, we would have seen Embo also being there. Just like I think I've just always liked him because he captures the sort of cool, scary, badass bounty hunter that I grew up with in the prequel or in the original trilogy era. But also just sort of the versatility of like using that hat as a shield, as a ramming device, as a death frisbee, throwing it at people. The great scene in one of the later seasons where he really takes it to Anakin. It really proves his badassery. So getting to see him in live action, very exciting. This was kind of quick and shadowy. So we haven't got the full, like, how do you translate his face? His face is not as exposed as Cad Bane. Right. But I also kind of trust Favreau and Filoni that you put Embo in live action. If this was back in the day, he'd stand around and we'd all be real happy. You put Embo in live action, that hat's got to fly. Like the trailer feels like to me, like maybe is he the one who captures Din and brings him in, No,
I think there's a great why behind using this character. We're excited for it. I know you've been excited for a while. Rumors swirling, but what I do like is just seeing this one little shot in the trailer, a little couple shots. is that will translate to the audience who has no idea who this is, right?
Yeah.
Similar to the Snake character. You don't need to know it's from the Clone Wars. Like, wow, look at that. He translates in that classic Star Wars. Ooh, who's this badass? I think that's absolutely a great choice, and it looks good so far. You're right. We'll see how it translates. Jumping from animation to live action can sometimes be a little wonky or a little kind of messes with your equilibrium as a fan. I love the Cad Bane sequence, but even then, that was a big risk, and it paid off. So I'm excited for this one.
Yeah. Embo just really fires a lot of my the child who still lives in this middle-aged body. Hasbro has put out for Black Series and Vintage Collection a sort of collect them all poster for Mandalorian and Grogu figures. And
so cool.
As of right now, they've got like half the poster is the ones they've already announced, which for Vintage is basically Mando and Grogu and a bunch of Imperial Remnant troopers.
Right.
But then they have 5 little Mando shadow figures with basically like 5 more to be revealed. And I'm sometimes frustrated with Hasbro because they're always going to make the badasses because those are going to sell better. Yep. Unfortunate truth of the market. But this is the one time where like, yeah, Embo's one of those 5 shadows. They're going to make the badass. There's going to be a new Embo action figure, Give
me this badass with puppy.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing I was excited about was what was Rada, or what we're assuming is Rada, maybe, who knows?
Yeah.
We got to see the Hutt twins as sort of positions as probably the big movers and shakers in the Hutt crime organization right now, since that's where he kind of left off in Book of Boba Fett. So I think when Rada was announced, there was lots of like, oh, he's going to be the big bad. And now it's like, he seems like a gladiator. And that totally reframed how I was thinking about Rada of, will Mando and Grogu end up freeing him, teaming up with them? I think gladiator stories have a history of the people who are watching it are profiting off of the misfortune of the people who are in the arena who maybe don't have another choice, maybe don't want to be, maybe made a bad choice to be in the arena. It put him more as like, we last saw this character is a baby. Father's dead, and he's not holding the reins of power. He's in a gladiator arena. It made it suddenly a much more interesting. Could this be a story of a child making a better choice than their parent did and choosing a different life?
I love you introducing that possible thematic connection there. I'm with you as someone who was on board for Rada, and I think you and I have discussed Rada would have something to say post the death of his father, and now Bib Fortuna taking over, even Boba Fett taking over. Like you think he'd have something to say. So it's not just a fun little pullback from the Clone Wars movie. Let's throw in Stinky Muffin in there. Let's throw in Rada the Hutt and do some eye rolls. I think there is a big why behind the character. But I agree with you, as what we've seen so far of him being potentially this gladiator, and I'm accepting that it's him at this point. I love what you're kind of suggesting. That is, if this is the theme of growing beyond your parents, both in good ways and bad ways, and making better choices, it would make some sense that for as much as he's in the picture, that he would have that theme weighing on his very broad Hutt shoulders. I think it would be a great use of the character.
It's broad, powerful Hutt shoulders.
Yeah.
Here's my final question about just kind of characters who pop up, Ken. Like I said, could be totally wrong. That looks like R2 to me, sounds like R2 to me.
Yeah.
R2, we know that Luke sends R2 around the galaxy to, do stuff. R2, got Grogu on his way.
Yep.
If it is R2, do you want to see Luke, or is that just like a can of of worms you don't want to open?
Look, man, like there's he belongs potentially in the story. Even Favreau saying this in interviews already, the one we talked about on the news show of he's been trained by Luke, so Grogu's got some skills. Like, He's around. It wouldn't be a stretch in terms of the story. I think because of the way they'd probably, continue with how they are, putting the character out there. I just think maybe even though I like the use of the character, I'm talking about the technology behind it for the appearances in the past. I get it's a little uncanny valley for some. I get maybe there's some what are we doing now kind of questions. So maybe that's why I'm having this like maybe I don't want him in this picture, but I think it would work, especially if Grogu's doing any kind of introspection, meditation, flashbacks. We know the big flashback we're all hoping for, at least around these parts with Kelleran Beck and Jar Jar Binks. Again, that's why I rewatched an episode just yesterday to be like, this is going to Jar Jar. Like this is heading towards Jar Jar. There's no other way around it. So Luke would belong, but yes, you know what I mean. You feel in my trepidation of do I want this discussion around this movie?
Yes, I had one of those cartoon sitcom moments while I was watching this and going through my own thoughts, going, I don't want Luke to show up. And there, I had a kind of cartoon moment of like, who said that? Who said? How have we come to this moment where I would say I don't want to see Luke Skywalker? It isn't that I don't want to see Luke. I think it is being affected by all of the questions of technology, all of the. I feel like there's been a lot in Star Wars where there's a particular note that it feels discordant or off to the general public in particular, and that's all they hear of the show, the movie.
Yes.
I think a general audience goes, oh, we didn't need to know where Solo's name came from. There's a one loud discordant note to them, and now I don't want to talk about this. I think the Emperor's return is too fast and unexplained for a lot of people, and Poe's line feels like clunky dialogue. That's a big, loud, discordant note, and now I can't hear anything else. I feel like some moments that the general audience pushes back against stops a lot of people from appreciating what else is there. And I kind of fear like, especially early on, an appearance from Luke would make a lot of the general audience roll their eyes and say, we don't need this. But taking a step back from that, I would be happy for like a hologram, because I think Luke offered Grogu. Do you want the Jedi path or do you want to go with Mando? But I think Luke still cares. I think he'd still check in on him. I think he'd still say like, hey, R2, when you're at the base, give Grogu my best, kind of thing. Or I think Grogu is going to sit on a tree in a forest swamp and go on a vision quest, and seeing Luke there would make a lot of sense because he does have a connection with him.
Yeah, especially if Grogu is out and about on his own and he's afraid and he's looking for help, and it doesn't have to be one-to-one, face-to-face, hologram vision for dyad. I don't know. I'm kidding. I'm joking about that. Please, don't, please stop, everybody. And that goes to even what you and I and others and many others have said about Luke's end of season 2 appearance. That in the timeline, in the Star Wars lore, in the Star Wars canon, like that is the Jedi that would answer the call for Grogu. So I think he has a place in it potentially, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. In the Book of Boba Fett, I feel like the technology is better for me. And but what I care about is the story. I feel like it's such a beautiful story of Luke treating Grogu with such kindness and showing him the Force isn't just about conflict and about taking what you can get, pulling your frogs out of the water. Look at how it makes you feel to just climb to a high vantage point and feel how everything is connected, and we're all a part of this. It's such a beautiful story, and to see Luke in that sort of teacher mode, and to see Luke being like, I don't want to be the guy running around the galaxy fighting. I want to build something and teach people to see the Force in a larger way. It's such a beautiful moment of where's Luke at in his prime, how kind he is, I think. So I love that story in Book of Boba Fett. So there's a part of me that wants to see more, but there's also lots of questions around the technology and the how. So any other specific beats or images that we haven't talked about in this particular trailer that you would like to highlight?
Yeah, the goddamn X-Wings at the beginning.
And a Y-Wing, I think, for you.
And a Y-Wing. And a U-Wing landing, right? Filoni's involved. We got to have ships landing. Maybe that's the directive from the top. ships landing sequences in every Star Wars story, and I'd be okay with it. I'd be okay with it. I love it. I know this was part of the teaser trailer, and people the tease to the whatever the warning that came out the day before. So this was discussed already, but it's a great shot. It reminded me a lot of some of the stuff in Force Awakens that we saw, and we talk about one of the big questions we want here on our way out of how does this feel in terms of this TV show translating to the big screen, right? An understandable question, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I think some people are being snarky and cynical about it, and will continue to be so, and we'll meet them at parties one day. But I think this to start the trailer with this like epic apocalypse now cinematic, widescreen sun of shadows of X-wings. I thought it was a beautiful shot to get us into it.
Yeah, and that is going to look and sound fantastic in a movie theater that's well calibrated visually, and audibly with the stereo setup. That's going to be beautiful.
Oh yeah, that's a butt rumbler. We got ourselves a butt rumbler.
Yeah, in IMAX. Get them IMAXs.
Forged for butt rumbling.
Forged to spill your drink on your lap. I talked about my opinions about the kind of the 3-act structure of the trailer of stasis, all this conflict, all this fear, but then ending the trailer on, do we run or do we fight? What are we waiting for? Blast off into adventure, big title screen. But then afterwards it had the little joke, remember, Grogu's always eating. And Din's line of let's save the rest for after dinner was funny, but it also felt like that's Jon Favreau speaking. I feel like that was Jon Favreau saying, the suits made me show you this much. I'm not going to show you anymore. There's more. I'm not going to show you. Just like Grogu, you're going to save the rest of this cookie for after dinner.
100%. You are not only aligned after years of talking about this stuff, and I think we're right. I think this is just right. This is John saying, that's it. Give me the cookies. I'll see you May 22nd. And all right, someone's going to do some Instagram. Maybe Grogu will appear on Hot Ones, but we're done. You got it. We're done here. See you in the movies.
Yeah. I think that Pedro Pascal should appear on Hot Ones. I'm sure he has before, but then I think there should just be the force noise in all the bucket of wings just goes flying off screen, and we know Grogu devoured them all. Then bones fly back in. Yeah. One other thing to throw out there real quick is because I know that a lot of times trailers are where discussions of trailers is where we here at ForceCenter maybe meet some new friends. People give us a chance. We talked about this extensively in the past, but just wanted to touch on the Jar Jar and Keller and Beck of it all. If anybody is not caught up on those those dreams, those possibilities of suggest rewatching the episode of Mandalorian season 3 that Ken mentioned, where Grogu is forced to begin to face the years of his life where everything went to hell. He is rescued from Order 66 by the Jedi Keller and Beck. Keller and Beck escapes with Grogu on a Naboo ship, a Nubian ship, saying he's going to take him to a friend, which has led us and many people to speculate maybe that friend is Jar Jar, and further speculate that we know that Grogu spent a lot of time in darkness that he doesn't like to think about. When Ahsoka was searching his mind, have led us to think that maybe Grogu goes to Jar Jar, but it's not super happy and doesn't last very long, or rather, it is happy, and both Kelleran and Jar Jar are taken from Grogu, which accelerates his fear of being alone, losing loving parental figures. So I partially want to just take a moment for that, to just not be like the people being like, we're putting up a scoreboard that Jar Jar is going to appear, but take a moment to talk about the why of it. Obviously for us and all the real world things of the journey that Jar Jar and Ahmed Best have been on, that would be really cool for two Ahmed Best characters to pop up. But the reason that it feels valid to speculate about in this film is I think Grogu's going to be on his own, full of fear that he's going to lose another parental figure. He lost his family in Order 66, and if he reflects back on the pain of losing Kelleran and Jar Jar, or being taken from them, that maybe he needs to face that pain and go, look, you made it through that pain, and there was happiness afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes life deals you pain, and you have to believe that there will be happiness too. And you can't be afraid of never experiencing pain again, or you won't be living life. And for me, that's the why of it, not just we predict Jar Jar scoreboard if he appears, or just wanting it. The Ahmed Best story of redemption and glory, redemption not for him, but from the people who were cruel to him, is fantastic. But none of that matters to me if there's not a why in the story. And that's the why that makes me think it's a possibility.
Yeah, well, more than possibility. We're celebrating it because out of the franchise itself, just out in the real world of a victory for Ahmed and Jar Jar and a prequel generation. That's why we're excited for it. But you're also right. It could be anybody. Whoever, if it wasn't Keller and it was another Jedi, whoever it is, just in terms of the why, it is an important thing to the life of Grogu, clearly, that this trailer is playing with. You're absolutely right. It's a therapeutic moment, especially if Grogu is separated again now. He has been separated before, right? We saw in season 2, right? All that stuff. It's separated in the sense of Luke separating him, and a different kind of separation. Grogu in this moment, as we've seen in this trailer, is potentially separated and clearly fearful. And it's easy to regress to points of trauma. It's easy to regress to older versions of yourself. And the biggest one in his life is the end of Order 66. Everything changed generally for the better after that finger touch at the end of episode 1. As you mentioned, beautiful. It's the connection. Even though there were some challenges along the way, I think it would make sense for him to have to go back and say, here's the trauma, here's the moment, but I am not that anymore. I'm older. I'm wiser. I got my own armor. I can eat mostly my own cookies when I want to. But it is a big therapeutic kind of realization that you are not that person, or you're not living that life. You're not in that circumstance. And can you work through it? Can you process it? And for him to revisit it in some way would make a lot of sense. We always, that's the speculate for new ForceCenter friends, speculate responsibly, is releasing ourselves from that strict adherence to what's on the scoreboard, to carrying into the film what you want to see. I want to see this in the worst way possible. Rewatching that Fowling episode yesterday, like I said, I was like, there is no other way. Whether it appears in this film or not, there's no other way that this is not Jar Jar on the other end of it. The comic now confirming that it's the Hablibber duck that Keller and Beck was flying, Jar Jar's own personal ship. But the why is why I want it. Yeah, I'm with you. It's important.
That comic book is it isn't just, hey, Jar Jar and Keller and Beck are buddies. It's deeper, and worth checking out. And I think leads to lots of fun thoughts. So all right, once we've talked about Jar Jar, that's about it. I do want to touch on. I wanted to make sure to mostly focus on the story, the why, our excitement as fans. But, it's hard to get away from the business conversation, and that's what a lot of people lead with. So I do want to touch on the business of it all. How are you just feeling personally about box office predictions? Do you want to be part of them?
In general?
Yeah, for you as a person, are you just sort of like, I get it, but I don't want to talk about it? Or are you having anxiety about it?
No, I get it, and I have people that I still respect that it's a lot of what they do, and it's their brand, and I have people that I don't speak to anymore that have made it their brand in a way that it's a weapon used against art that we love. So I don't love the conversation because to me it doesn't necessarily matter, but it does matter to me as a fan of this franchise who wants to see it continue, who wants to have it grow beyond me. And without a doubt, you got to believe people up there in those cardigans and whatever the new CEO is going to wear are going to be watching this film with great interest, to quote Palpatine. So I think it's an important conversation. I just want the conversation to always, and you and I are on the same page here, to always be fair about the situation that we are in the entertainment industry, to what the situation and the reality of the theater going experience and the theater going cost is. I think this is going to have a great opening weekend. But what is that number? I don't know anymore. I don't know if it needs. Does it need to hit 100 million? Does it need to make all of it back? Is 45 million a win? That doesn't seem like a win. But in this new world, maybe it is. So I'm intrigued, and I'm not an expert in the field on this. I just don't want it to dominate. It will from certain sectors. It will.
Yeah. I think for myself, like I do find myself thinking about it a lot. And I think that's partially because I really do want to spend the rest of my life making films. And so I think my mind is more on the business of it. I'm in nowhere
Hmm.
near in the position of making
Hmm.
a Star Wars film or a blockbuster. But what makes people go to a film? What makes people think of a film as a success? What is the relationship between the actual numbers of butts in the seats to the internet conversation, to the way two films can make the exact same dollar amount, and the film press will treat one as a failure and one as a
Right.
success. And so it isn't just the number; it's also how does the number get pitched? How is the number understood?
Yeah.
Star Wars has for a long time been an extremely rare experience that's a blockbuster. Uh,
Yeah.
I think Solo torture tests the definition of a bomb because it made a bonkers amount of money, and because of the reshoots, it, you know,
Mhm.
broke even maybe. And so it's a bomb. But is it a bomb? Because there are a lot of people who saw that film. That more people saw that film than other films, and all of it is contextual. Back in the day in 2015, Ant-Man was a triumph at 60 million opening weekend, or
Right.
and Star Wars is a failure unless it hits 120 or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think the complexity of the conversation and the complexity of what it means for how we value art in the moment, I think I end up just sort of feeling like it's unavoidable to think about. Um,
Yeah. It
uh,
is
but
unavoidable.
it is unavoidable. But then at the same time, it's like quality of art is what matters. Longevity matters. Like, you know what? You sit somebody down right now and show them a bunch of movies from 1999. What people think is one of the best years of cinema, and then you go through like, now which one was a hit and which one bombed? How many would go, oh yeah, of course, Office Space and Iron Giant did bad at the box office.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I think most people would probably know Matrix and Phantom Menace did okay.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
would they pick Sixth Sense as a hit and Iron Giant is a flop,
Right.
or do they just exist as pieces of beautiful art that people can watch?
Yeah, and to anyone out again, it's an unavoidable conversation for okay reasons. Like the business does matter. It does matter. But if you're out in the wild, this is speaking to ForceCenter friends out there. If you're out in the wild and you run into someone using the box office of any film, of any piece of art as a weapon against it, just ask them. Yeah, great, neat. But how did the movie make you feel?
Mm-hmm.
That's the question they all need to answer.
Yeah, and I think that's what it comes back to for me for worrying about this film. I think the first week, the opening weekend is going to be fantastic. It's a Memorial Day weekend, so it's got an extra
Yeah.
day to play. I think all-in Star Wars fans are going to pack those theaters. I think families who love Grogu, I think some adults who are like, I don't know, are going to be
Mhm.
convinced by their 8-year-old or whatever to go see the Grogu movie, the Baby Yoda movie. I think they're pushing IMAX so hard, and that inflates the dollar number. So I have no doubt that the opening weekend of this film is going to be great. And then it all
Mhm.
becomes to me about shaping the narrative of the second weekend of, do people love the movie? Does the human story come across? Are they touched? Is there positivity on social media? Is there goodwill and good word of mouth to this film? And then however far it drops the second weekend, what narrative is going to be spun by the trades
Yeah.
is what it's going to come down to me.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
But we're just gonna try to enjoy the art.
exactly.
As per se.
Exactly. So we will continue to do what we've done on this episode, where we try to separate the art and
Yes.
the box office a little bit, because they both matter, but the art is what matters more.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we could just be betting on which microwave is going to sell better. Who cares? Then we're just betting
Mhm.
on financial
Yep.
success is not as interesting as talking about a beautiful adventure with a
Yeah.
father and son who love each other.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah. It's like in baseball. What was his barrel rate? What was the exit velocity of his hit? I don't know. Did you enjoy watching the baseball game?
Yes. Yep.
Sorry, little steam coming out.
Yep. Yep. Well, thank you for indulging me in the longer box office talk
Yeah.
here at the end. That's it. Any other thoughts, questions for you?
It's here. And I'm not saying this to be a prick, but a week removed from the big game, this was the right spot from my point of view, because this was a week outside of the world and news and stuff that's always taking a higher rank on the depth chart of things that are more important to worry about. We are not having a conversation about Bad Bunny. We're not having a conversation about who showed up at the halftime show, who won the game, was the game boring. We're having a conversation in the pop culture zeitgeist about Mandalorian and Grogu. I think it was the right time to do it.
Yeah, I think it was the right move to remind people that this movie is coming. For the people who got the Super Bowl joke, some people enjoyed it. Definitely heard and understand from a lot of our friends who aren't in America, like, I've never seen a Budweiser Clydesdale commercial. I don't know what the hell is going on. But it did its work to generate conversation and knowledge. And now we get to have the real conversation, and the rest of the day can be about that Rodian baby that everybody seems to love.
Yes, indeed. All right, there it is. We're not done talking the Mandalorian and Grogu. I'm sure there will be those 15 Instagram spots we'll have to break down in interviews. Grogu on Hot Ones. All the things are forthcoming. But what's more important is that film is right around the corner, and Star Wars will be back in theater. Thank you all for watching. If you're new, as Joseph said, sometimes newer eyes pop on, or newer ears if you're listening on the podcast feed. Subscribe here on YouTube. Subscribe to the podcast feed. Leave a nice comment. Tell us the things you loved. Hopefully later this week, if you're watching at the time of release, we're going to try to do a live show to take your favorite moments. We'll see if my civic duty of jury duty messes up all that. But you can also follow us on social media at ForceCenter Pod. You can support us directly at Patreon at patreon.com/ForceCenter. Get into our Discord there, where I'm proud to say thanks to Jared Kozel and other ForceCenter friends who tip me off to how I can remove the scandalous bots from Discord. So hopefully your information is not being scammed right now, or picked up. So get into the Discord there. Follow me at Cat Knapsack, or go to my website, catknapsack.com. You, sir.
Yeah, you can follow me Blue Sky, Instagram, other social media at Joseph Scrimshaw is my handle everywhere. If you'd like to check out the horror film I've been working on, it is called Dead Media. It is a feature film, and it's going to be having its first film festival appearance at a great festival called Nevermore Film Festival in Durham, North Carolina. So if you happen to be in the area, come check that out. It is the last weekend in February. Or if you know anybody in that area, please tell them about it. You can find out all about it on my website, josephscrimshaw.com.
There it is. All right, that's it. We'll see you next time here on ForceCenter.